All right, we're going to welcome everyone else into the conversation that we started about 10 minutes ago. It's going great so far. Thank you all for being here. My name is Victor Diaz. I came to ACC in 1996 and got my first degree in radio, television, film here. I've been working as a news reporter and news anchor for the station that is now Spectrum News. And today we are joined by 4 members of the Riverbat community. We have some current students, some former students, and we're going to talk about all of the great things that ACC has enabled us to do. And we hope that it's an example of what is available to lots of other people to be able to start their higher education path to success and fun and all the great stuff that comes along with that. So thanks for being with us today. We're going to go until about noon or until they kick us out. I want to go ahead and introduce our guests today. We have Jeremiah, who is an ACC 3D animation student. He is working on an associate's degree. We have Anna, who is with us, and she is an ACC nursing graduate. She's about to start her career in healthcare. We have Damien, who is an ACC music production student. He is working on a degree in that field. And we have Deanna, who is an ACC alum and currently works as ACC's Hispanic Outreach Coordinator. Thank you all for being with us today. So far, I can tell we all enjoyed talking about our college experience, whether it was 25 years ago or it's going on right now. I want to start with the journey to ACC. And I want to start with Jeremiah because what I have read is that Jeremiah is someone who started his path to ACC while he was still in high school. And it's great to be able to get a head start. And I wanted you to tell us about how you were able to do that and how you recognized ACC as a place to make the bridge from high school into college. There you go. You're on.
Okay. So yeah, I remember when I took my first dual credit class my sophomore year of high school. I had no expectations of what a college course was like. And I remember as soon as like the course started like going, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. Like it was like a whole new opening. And as I went on through high school, I actually had no plans to go to a university. But I saw everyone else, moving forward, and I'm like, I need to move forward too. And I already had that familiarity of what ACC was like, and I kind of just built that trust, with ACC, and I knew that it was such a accessible path. So that's kind of what led me there.
I think, accessibility and affordability were two of the things that really stood out to me as a 17-year-old, not knowing, I didn't come from a background that had parents who were pushing me in any particular way or paying for anything. So I didn't know how that would go. I think for me, one of the biggest questions was like financial aid. I'm like, how am I going to pay for this stuff? I wanted to ask about what brought you to ACC and how you managed, if any of y'all have thoughts about how you manage paying for it. I know that we have a scholarship recipient here. What role did finding a way to pay for college and start college play in your journey? Yeah.
So my name is Anna. I'm actually a product of Capital Idea. They are funded by the city of Austin. They were, excuse me if I get emotional, sorry. I'm an emotional person. But they were absolutely essential for me to be able to afford to go to school as a single mom that has a daughter that's disabled. She is the reason why I decided to go into healthcare. We had multiple home health nurses in my home. She was a micro preemie born at 1 pound and 5 ounces. She was in the NICU for 7 months before we could bring her home. We brought her home on oxygen and tube feedings and things like that. And so having that, the ability to find a program like Capital Idea came directly because of my daughter. she was my inspiration, and she was also the avenue in which I found out about Capital Idea, because one of her home health nurses was using the program, and she was like, you're doing all this stuff for Elena. You're already her nurse for free. She's like, let's, why don't you start, applying for this program. It's called Capital Idea, and she told me all about it. And so I got my financials together and sent in my paperwork, and I was approved. And it just really was the catalyst and the whole reason why I am a nurse today. I passed the NCLEX exam about 3 weeks ago. So I'm officially a nurse. So thank you. It was a long journey. I started before COVID hit. I was initially in the RN program, which Capital Idea will do LVN or RN as long as you don't have a degree in any of those fields. So technically I could go back for RN right now because LVN is a certificate, so they would fund me to even, further my education even more. I won't be doing that because I value my mental health, so I'll just stay where I'm at, but I'll leave that to the young crowd. So Capital Idea has paid my mortgage, helped me pay my mortgage. A couple of times while I've been through the program. They will help you with childcare. I don't need that because I have a 16-year-old that takes care of herself and us. And then Elena, my daughter, has a home health nurse, so I don't need that. But they will help you with that as well. And of course, everything. They pay for everything. Your scrubs, your stethoscope, your pin light, your shoes. They pay for everything, absolutely everything. And if you come out of pocket for anything, they will reimburse you if you have the proper receipts. They paid to get my TB skin test. I mean, any and everything that has to do with the program, obviously books, then they will pay for it or they will reimburse you. And there is no way I could have done, what I did without them. So I just am very, very grateful to them. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I'll be here for anything they ask me to speak about, because I owe them, not just financially, but they changed my life. So.
That's incredible, and congratulations on passing your exam. It's so great when plans work out. Working as an outreach coordinator, what concerns do you address helping students become successful at ACC?
Yeah, so becoming the Hispanic outreach coordinator was not easy. I found out basically about just ACC, just in general, back in high school when I was struggling, figuring out what to do with my tuition itself. I had applied for other universities, but I was like, I can't afford this. I don't have scholarships. I don't have grants. What do I do? And I remember the manager of Hispanic Outreach came to the high school, and she was like, we help students transfer to a four-year university. I was like, okay, that's what I want. How? She was like, just come to ACC. And I was like, okay. So I signed up, I joined the program, the one I'm repping right now, Ascender. I love that program, and that is something that I'm working on right now as a Hispanic outreach. It is basically designed for first-year college students, and it sets a strong foundation for students, by creating a community. In order for the student to be involved, they have to feel like they belong, that they can go to campus and not just do I'm gonna go to class, I'm gonna go to work, back home. That loop is just very overwhelming for students, especially if it's their first year, especially if it's their first year, their first gen, primarily. And building that community was so important as a student for me when I was, an ACC student, that it helped me start networking, get out of my bubble. And I was very shy, and I was like, I don't know if I belong here. I was just seeking an associate's at that point in time, back in 2016. And eventually it motivated me. I was like, you know what? I think I can go in for my bachelor's. I went in for my bachelor's. I transferred. I was like, you know what? I can go in for a master's. Why not? I'm already here. So I just graduated from Texas State. Go Bobcats. And it was such an amazing opportunity. And I know that I have to thank ACC. I have to thank Ascender. And most importantly, the reason we're here, scholarships, because when I was here at ACC, I only got one scholarship. I did get grants here and there, but it was just one scholarship. And I know that scholarship literally changed my life because I had to apply through the general scholarship application. And when I did, I had no idea how it worked. I just like filled out the application, submitted it. I was like, okay. I was a student and I was getting overwhelmed with so many emails that I was getting, and I almost missed that email like, hey, congratulations, you got a scholarship. And I got another reminder like a month later, like, hey, are you going to receive that scholarship? I was like, what scholarship? So I was like, yes, I want money. But that scholarship really encouraged me to keep going and keep applying. And I know that the fact that I was perseverance and, getting involved in college itself, it allowed me to go to Texas State, get my master's, and get a full paid scholarship to go study abroad. And that was how I finished my master's. And I know that it was because I started here at ACC and I got that confidence, to keep going.
I like to call that following in the steps of the great ones, because I also went to ACC, transferred to what was then Southwest Texas State University for the very last class that graduated as SWT. I spent 3 years at ACC working on the associates, transferred the maximum amount of credits at the time, which is probably still 60 hours, towards a bachelor's degree, which I was able to do so much cheaper, and it was really a blessing to be able to get so much done here that transferred, to the next level. One of the things that I like to say that coming here allowed me to do was just do more of what I loved. At that point, it was sports. I love sports and sports broadcasting. So I wanted to talk about Damien because I know he loves music. And it is, while lots of people would love to work in the music industry, there's a lot that you have to learn on the production side to enable you to be able to do those things. Tell me about, first of all, your music background that you'd like to build on, and what kind of has inspired you to follow music production into ACC.
So I really have no prior music background.
Okay.
I'm actually currently taking piano lessons, just so I can get a foundation or a background as far as scales and music theory and things like that. The reason I chose music is because this is my second time actually going to college. The first time I went, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had a football scholarship to Midwestern State, so I played football for maybe 2 years, and then I'm first one in my family to go to college. Me and my brother in my immediate family go to college, so I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. So when the first time I went, once I stopped playing football, I was lost, and I didn't know which direction to go. And I had to do a lot of soul searching to kind of see what I wanted to do as a career, because I feel like if you do something, you should do something that you love to do. And I figured, I might as well try certain things to just see what I like. So I started, tried acting, I tried other sports, I tried music, and I was like, I love music, and I love the way music makes me feel. It's a music for every situation. It's a song for every situation.
Who are your favorites?
Man.
Well, you're here instead of the Beyonce concert. So.
Yeah. Right now I'm exploring music. So right now I'm diving into electronic music, or I'm diving into indie music, or just different genres of music. Others like to try different things and see what I like. So that's kind of why I chose the path of music. Just because I think music is so broad and it touches a lot of people, and it's like a bridge. It's like that bridge to different cultures and different ethnicity, different backgrounds. That bridge that connects to people, entertainment in general. So I might as well just try my hand in something that potentially could last forever if it's that good. People still sample the oldies, the old music. They still sample it to this day because it was just that authentic and that good. So that's kind of why I chose music production.
I would encourage anyone who's here today for the celebration to take advantage of an opportunity to see some of the facilities here, because there are music production facilities. The last time I saw them shortly after they were built here, and I was so impressed to see just technically how the school has progressed over the span of 50 years. It's incredible. There's technology now to make music and to make videos and everything else that blows my mind, because I did school here in the 90s when the equipment was much different. And it's incredible to see how things have progressed. Let's talk a little bit about what you want to do in 3D and what you've been able, or what you would like to accomplish here.
So I love just exploring all types of art, and that's what I did for like most of my time in high school. I did journalism, news, and then like RTF type stuff too. And I wanted to like kind of expand my tool set, you know, and 3D animation, visual effects. It's always been something that's interested me, and I didn't even know that ACC had like a specific degree program for that. And when I saw that they did, I was like, that's really intriguing. Like the different lists of courses that they have that target like specific skills towards 3D animation is very. It was cool because like last spring, I took a class that was strictly just for drawing for animation, not illustrating, but like for animation. And I was just like, this is so specific. Like this is such a specific skill. And it's cool to see that ACC kind of shapes you to be well-rounded in what you're trying to do and what you want to learn. So yeah, that's what I got.
Anna and Diana, what were some of the kind of more tangible experiences that you remember having that kept you on your path to your degree?
Can y'all hear me? Okay, sweet. Well, one of the things, memorable experiences here at ACC as a student was the cultural events. I loved them. I remember having a Noche de Familia that was part of the program as a first-year college student, and I was able to invite my family. And you know, my parents only speak Spanish, so in order for them to get involved in college, you know, there has to be like a translator or some sort for them to, you know, feel like they belong with me, you know, as their daughter. So I love the fact that, you know, that session, that Noche Familia, was bilingual. So my parents were able to join in on the fun. We played loteria, basically the Mexican bingo. And it was a dinner. We got together. We talked about my goals as a student and how they could support me. So, you know, bringing in culture really helped me, like my college experience, it enhanced it in some sort of way. Because not only was I learning from my culture itself as a Latina, but I was learning from other students and their backgrounds, because the program was open for all majors and from all ages, and it was just a rewarding experience being able to be part of those kind of events. Like Dia de los Muertos, you know, Day of Death, where there's like altars around the campus where you can, you know, remember the loved ones who have passed away. Just those little details play a big role as a student, because that's how you feel like you belong, seeing the different cultures, the diversity the college offers, and how inclusive, you know, everyone is. And that was my highlight, you know, here at ACC.
And Anna, from the health education aspect of things, what were you able to experience, work on, learn that became an asset to you?
First, I want to start out by saying that I used to come here when it was a mall.
Yeah.
So that's not to give away my age or anything, but came here, you know, in high school, and this was literally the mall by where I lived. So now it's, you know, this wonderful, technically advanced campus, and so I think what was really important to me was the accessibility. So when I was younger, decades ago, I would take like world religion classes, like random stuff. They didn't pertain anything to what I'm doing now, but it was something of interest to me, and I lived on Riverside at that time, like we all usually do when we first start out. That's where the affordable apartments used to be. So I lived there, and there was a campus by that, you know, by Riverside, and then later on I moved over, and you were mentioning the Northridge campus. I lived off of Breaker and Kramer, so then that's when I was starting to like be more of an adult, and I was like, okay, let me take some real classes that might actually, you know, go towards some type of program or degree, and so I took classes there. I now live in Round Rock. When I started to really gear towards and be in the Capital Idea program and geared towards health science classes, I started RN, and they have the RN program there, and the campus is there, and it was like 5 minutes from my house, so that was ideal. And then COVID hit, And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for LVN. It'll be quicker. It'll be faster. It'll be easier. And that's not true. So don't do that. If you think that, that's very, very untrue. So it's a very rigorous program. Just comparable to the RN program. And so then I had to come from Round Rock to the Eastview campus. And I was like, I probably should have thought a little bit more about that because the commute. But just the ability to, wherever it is I lived at that time, whatever time in my life I was going through, whether or not, I was 19 or now, I just turned 48. So, through the decades, I've gone through more, shout out to some more 48-year-olds, okay? So just through the decades, wherever I'm at in life and wherever I live, there has been the accessibility to go to whatever campus it is that I live near. And so that's, you can't, UT is great. I'm a big Longhorn fan, but you can't say that about, UT or Texas State or any of these other programs or universities and colleges. That's just not true, but ACC does have that over them. And one of the many things, but that's really what stood out to me was the accessibility.
And it's great how the things that you experience here will stay with you for, so much longer. Let's go back to Damien and talk about some goals here. Where the road goes, from ACC, what would you like to accomplish here? Like tangibly, is the associate's degree important? Is the hands-on experience important? What would you like to have to show for your time here? And what do you want it to enable you to do?
That's a good question. Like I said, this is my second time going to college. So my first time I went, I wasn't very involved. Kind of like, is it Deanna? Okay, I got it right. I'm terrible with names. Kind of like she was talking about a lot of students, they go to school, they go to work, and they go home. And that's kind of how it was my first time around in college. I would go to class, and I'll go straight home. I didn't really communicate or, talk to just my peers. Or I didn't talk to the staff, or I wasn't, involved. So this time around, I told myself I'm gonna be more involved. I'm gonna be more active. I'm gonna make myself more accessible. So I started like a couple of clubs here on campus, just so I could just meet more people and just do
What clubs are those?
So I started an improv club, comedy improv. So I do that on the side, just to have fun and just to let loose and be a kid. That's kind of what it's about. And then I started a Mental Health Matters club. It's about mental health. It's kind of basically just a support group. Ultimately, that's what I wanted to be, a support group for students to come in and just have like honest conversations about whatever's going on in their life. I think having that foundation, a strong foundation and a strong why is important, to succeed in life. And when I first went to school, I didn't know my why, and that's the kind of thing why it took me so long to even graduate, because I didn't know like why I was actually going to school. I just went to school because to get a degree at the end of the day. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So this time around, if I could help somebody out or be a support system, somebody like that, it's even better for me. Just cause, I think helping people is, is what we're most ultimately here for, So my ultimate goal when I leave is just leave my mark.
Okay.
In whatever way, that is, just leave my mark and just leave my stamp and say I was here, I did something, I accomplished something, and to network as much as possible, meet as many people as possible. I do want to start my own production company, get a team, start helping small businesses with like commercials or advertising, just things like that, short films, anything. I really honestly don't know, but I'm just here for the journey, I'm just here for it.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up being a good community member, because that's what ACC has really evolved into over 50 years, as a community of thousands and thousands of people, who have had experiences with ACC. Jeremiah, from a goal standpoint, where you want to go from here, what would you like to accomplish, and where would you like it to take you?
So unlike Deanna and Anna, like I know that you guys, like whenever you were going to school, you wanted to like finish, you wanted to just move on with your life, because that was kind of what you needed to do in order to continue like your life and like take care of your people and everything like that. I can acknowledge that I have the privilege of being super young, and I spent so much of my time like in high school and middle school not seeing the value in learning. And it wasn't until I stepped in here that I actually did, because I saw like the wide range of courses that they had here. Like degree plan is for 3D animation, but I've been taking audio engineering courses on the side because it's just super interesting to me. There's so many different opportunities here. I mean, I also I entered for the communications department here, and that's not part of my degree plan, right? So I just, even past getting my degree, I just want to continue learning and like just knowing what I can, because seeing all of the choice here, I don't know, it feels cool because it's an education that I never was introduced to before coming here. You know, I never saw that opportunity.
That's great. I want to keep us on time. I know we had intended to take questions. Sydney, do we have time for that, or do we need to wrap up? We do have time for it. Okay. Well, we have a few minutes to do a little Q&A. Does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask me or our guests about the Riverbat Experience? Okay, one class. Yeah. Okay. What class would you all recommend as the one to get people in the door?
You can go first.
It's not a class, but it's a club. You come join the improv club, you know? It will have fun.
Yeah.
I don't.
My very first semester, I took this class called, it was such a vague title. I can't even remember what the title of the class was, but when I actually started taking it, it was about the history of music. And we would be analyzing like Janis Joplin and like K-pop and like Drake. Like it was so like random. I was like, but it was cool. It was cool. I got to learn about, it was mainly like how music affects culture. And I wish I could tell you what the class was called so you can like take it. But it was such a like just vague title. Like my expectations for the class were like blank. And then when I jumped in, and it was this super fun class about like music and like the history of it and how it affects the culture. I don't know, it's really weird. There's a bunch of classes like that at ACC that end up just blowing your expectations of what you think they're gonna be, and they end up being a lot more than what you think they're gonna be. So yeah.
Well, for me, when I was looking at my degree plan, it said art, and I was like, yes, I'm taking an art class, but it wasn't the art that I was thinking. It was like art history, and I really love that class because, we went over the architecture and everything, so I remember making like little drawings of like how the image looked and where it was located, whether it was in Greece or in Rome, wherever, and I was like, one day I'm gonna go over there, and one day I'm gonna go visit them and see them in person, and it was such a fun class. It can be like very discouraging. Oh, it's history, but it was such a amazing opportunity. I was like, man, I feel like I want to retake that class because I lost my journal, and I usually keep all my notes from all my classes. And I was like, man, if I retake that class, I can redo my little drawings. So like, okay, now I have time. Now that I graduated, I have time to go visit them and go look at them in person. So art history.
I don't have anything nearly as fun as all of that. I'll tell you what class you wouldn't want to take for fun. How about that? It's called
Stay
pharmacology, and there's dosage calculations that you do by hand, and you do all the math in your head and conversions from kilograms to pounds, and yeah. So it will not be that class. That's all I got for you.
I'll stay away from it.
Kind of to add on to what you were saying, because you were saying how your art history class was really fun, but like in an outside perspective, like, oh, history is not like super exciting. I feel that way about, I'm taking an English class right now. It's like the standard base English class. And although like that class is centered around writing, we also end up unintentionally learning a lot of history in that class. And for once, I was actually like interested to learn that history too. And it wasn't even a history class, it's just an English writing class. But yeah, that you talking about that made me think about that.
The very first semester that I came to ACC, I took a class called Intro to Television and Radio Announcing. And what I thought was really cool about that class was the instructor was a guy who was on the news as a sports reporter and anchor on KView. And I thought that was the coolest thing. It was a Saturday morning class. We'd come in and talk about sports, and then we'd do recordings, and he would coach us on how to speak. And it was one of those things where, like I said, the great thing about ACC is it can enable you to do more of the things that you loved. And I love doing that, so I did it for work for 15 or 20 years. Thank you so much for being with us. I think that concludes our time. Thank you to our guests. And we hope that you enjoy the rest of the homecoming celebration.